I want to speak briefly about one matter that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is not on your agenda, but it's something very close to my heart and at the core of a UN effort that you will be hearing about at least for the next 10 years, and that is the Millennium Development Goals that are designed to attack or address extreme poverty. You may recall that in the year 2000, the Millennium year, the nations all came together to look at the reality of poverty in the world today. 1 billion people live with essentially nothing. No roof, no education, no health care, no assurance of a meal tomorrow, no future beyond the experience of this moment, and 2 billion people have no water or sanitation. Those aren't just numbers or statistics. Those are human beings like us. Put yourself in those shoes and consider if you could live in those conditions for a week. No water? Where do you get it? What do you drink in the morning? How do you bathe? How do you cook? What else? How do you live without clean water? In any case, they came together to put in place 8 goals to attack poverty. And nearly every nation on earth signed on to these, committing to do all they could from the government level as well as the grassroots to address poverty and the issues in each country that were most relevant for them. For a moment, let me just say another word on this. What is poverty? What does it mean to those who live in that situation? It means poor health and early death. It means loss of childhood. It means hazardous work, essentially slavery or bondage, often in mines or forests or diving underwater or as very young prostitutes. It means denial of a basic education. It means powerlessness with no way out. It means vulnerability to exploitation, theft, and abuse. It means being freezing in winter and broiling in summer. It means dependence and humiliation and violence and exclusion, not just at the margin, but as I have heard, to the point of invisibility. Some of this is certainly in cities, but much of it is rural and urban. And there is little way to escape, for families get caught in a series of traps. The labor trap, the illiteracy trap, the debt bondage trap, the undernutrition trap, which affects children all their lives, the lack of information trap, the high fertility trap, the vulnerability to natural disasters trap, the common property trap, where areas are overfished or overgrazed, the criminality trap, because there are few alternatives to survive. Poverty very often is not the fault of the poor, and many are deeply ashamed of it and feel degraded and humiliated. The response to this is it can be different. Ending global poverty can be done. We have the means, we have the technology. The question is, do we have the will, the political will, the will to work from the government down as well as from the grassroots up. So this is a commitment of the United Nations. It began in 2000. The 15-year target is obviously 2015. There are goals and timetables between then and there, then and back then and in the future. And those goals are very helpful because it allows you to measure how far you are going. And nations who are far ahead are asked to help those who are far behind and to share their experience and their knowledge, and especially on the issue of water and literacy. The number of agencies involved are several. UNICEF, of course, is involved. The UN Development Program, UNESCO on literacy, the WHO, World Health Organization, on AIDS and malaria and tuberculosis, the UN Environmental Program, the UN Habitat on housing issues, the World Food Program. All of these are brought in to make a joint effort to create a synergy of dynamic commitment, and not just for the moment, but for the longer term. This is not charity. This is partnership. And the effort is not just to change a situation for this week or this month, but to change it permanently in a way that is sustainable. And in that, we need many partners. Governments, of course, have a primary responsibility in how they use their resources, but partners with financial institutions and business, and of course, micro-lending and debt relief, and all of those matter as well. Well, let me not dwell on this, but I do want to call it to your attention. I hope in a future model UN you might bring it back as a subject to look at again, because it is quite literally a matter of life